to our class here. Again, this is for ENV 220, and this is going to be for field methods and technologies. So with that, let me go ahead and share screen so that we are all on the same page, excuse me, as to what is due for this week. So again, we're looking at Module 3, so our third week of class. And this week, what we're going to focus on is really looking at water quality. So we did a little bit in terms of last week, looking at stream flow and morphology, so a little bit more into water quality here. So your Module 3 introduction. So this is going to, how you get started here, what we're going to be learning about. So we're going to look at proper water sampling technique. It's not you just get a tube and dump it in the water and you're done. There's more to it than that. We're going to look at assessing the health of local aquatic environments and how this all plays into a healthy environment that we live in. So that's looking at the objectives. So what you're going to be reading or reviewing for this week is going to look at your textbook, specifically looking at Chapter 7. So you're going to look at water techniques, surface water samplings, concentration on fresh water here, looking at stream width and depth, how that can influence water samples, and then looking at probe analysis, parameters, and other analysis. There's also a surface water quality lab manual to look at, and when you're reviewing that, you might want to ask yourself some questions looking at what are some specific standards. Each state, each region, maybe each county might have different water quality sampling rules and standards, so you might want to get familiar with some of your local ones. Looking at what you're going to be looking at. So are you going to be sampling for pH, phosphate, temperature, nitrites, looking at fecal coliforms, bacteriums, or something else? There's also about a 9-minute video looking at water quality testing. So this looks at the proper techniques for conducting dissolved oxygen, temperature, other types of testing. So, why, when you review that, you might want to ask yourself, why is it important that we're testing for certain parameters? And what are the relationship between dissolved oxygen and water movement or bacterium? How are all those interrelated? Some additional readings, again, not required, but here's a website that you might want to visit called Surface Water Quality Model and Sampling, looking at different equipments and what makes measuring water quality. Well, why is that considered to be difficult sometimes? So you have 2 assignments due for this week. One is the lab report, looking at surface water quality, and the second is looking at your milestone 2. So if you look at the surface water quality, I'm going to go ahead and share the lab itself, which is the lab manual. So this is going to be the kit that you're going to be using. Hopefully my thing doesn't block it out, but it's called Water Quality Test Kit and Surface Water's Physical and Chemical Parameters. I'm going to get out of the screen so you can see it. It should have some test tubes, has like a little bottle, it has some envelopes here in the back. Time-wise, let's see, 40, give or take, make sure you commit about 2 hours for this lab. There's 6 different activities. Those activities alone between 5 and 10 minutes each, and then the preparation can be another 40 minutes. So when you take a look at it, it's going to have some great background information, make sure you have all the equipment as well too. One thing to pay attention to is each activity. So for instance, activity 1, you're going to be looking at temperature measurement. Activity 2, you're going to be looking at sample collection. Activity 3, you're looking at pH testing. 4, you're looking at phosphate testing. Activity 5 is looking at nitrate testing. So some of you that have aquariums or fish tanks, you might be kind of familiar with this. Same with turbidity testing as well for activity 6 with a table here. And then also there's some observations here. So there's a template. So make sure you follow each of the steps. Again, plan for about 2 hours or so for this lab. So make sure you're not starting it Sunday evening at 11 o'clock. That should be a good time frame to kind of keep in mind here. So I'm going to go ahead and close this screen, and then we will I'm going to go ahead and share what's due for Module 2. I'm sorry, the Milestone 2 guidelines. That's your other assignment that's due. So you did Milestone 1 last week, which was looking at again at your habitat that you're going to be researching on, and you're going to be building. your information here. So specifically, you're going to be looking at methods to assessing quality and condition of your habitat. So here are the parameters to address. They're called out right here for you. One, you're going to use selected field tests that discuss in the labs or other information tools and technology, and you're going to formulate or come up with some type of step-by-step methodology or procedure to addressing your objective. So what days are you going to be conducting your habitat evaluation? What time of day? How often? You're going to list all the materials that you're going to need for the field testing. You can discuss some of the limitations. So it might be like a remote location. It might be access. It might be wildfires or something if your area is prone to that. And then you're going to also provide detailed measures for incorporating safety practices. So what safety practices will be required for data collection? What are some actual materials? Are you going to be needing PPE gear? Something like that. So then your milestone 2 paper should be around 2 to 3 pages, and then make sure you hit each of these discussed in the rubric. So the methods, the materials, limitation, safety practices, making sure you have clear communication, and also your citations as well. All right, so kind of going back to what is due for this week. Again, not too bad in terms of how much become the material that you need to complete for this week. Make sure you, again, go over your readings and your videos here for your surface water quality. Your lab, 3.1 lab here, again, around 2 hours or so for that lab. And then your milestone 2 assignment. So both those assignments due by Sunday by 11:59 p.m. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I look forward to some of your assignments here reading about your habitat and what you plan to do.